flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next regular meeting of the Zoning Commission is scheduled for April 26, 2011. Please note that the April 12th meeting has been canceled for staffing reasons. First order of business is the acceptance of minutes from September 28, 2010. Has anyone had a chance to read through those and make a motion?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Haddad, seconded by Commissioner Kovacs. Discussion, changes, deletions for minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? First order of business this evening is the public hearing. The petition of Crawford Holdings LLC, 62 Myrie Brook Road, lot number E19018 for change of zone from RA40 to RO. Commissioner Brennan, if you would read the legal notice, I'll read the staff report, and Commissioner Haddad, if you would read the planning commission recommendation. Commissioner Brennan. And just a reminder to everybody this evening, we are being televised live on Government Access Channel 24, and we will also be rebroadcast, and I have enough people yell at me for other things, so if we could remember to use our microphones, maybe they won't yell at me because they can't hear us this evening.
Notice is hereby given that the Zoning Commission of the City of Danbury will hold a public hearing commencing at 7:30 p.m. on March 22, 2011 in the council chambers on the third floor at City Hall, 155 Deerhill Ave, to consider the following matter. Petition of Crawford Holdings LLC, 62 Myrie Brook Road, number E19018, for change of zone from RA40 to RO. Parties and interested citizens shall have an opportunity to be heard at this time. Robert C. Melillo, Chairman. Published March 12 and March 19, 2011.
The City of Danbury Planning and Zoning Department, dated March 14, 2011, to City of Danbury Planning Commission, City of Danbury Zoning Commission. From Dennis I. Elprin, Planning Director, regarding petition of Crawford Holdings LLC, 62 Myrie Brook Road, lot number E19018, change of zone from RA40 to RO. We have received a petition to rezone 62 Myrie Brook Road from RA40 to RO. The lot consists of 2.19 acres and is located at the corner of Myrie Brook Road and Harwood Drive. The lot currently contains a single-family house. The petition stated the following reasons as to why the rezoning should be granted. The property in question is located on the west side of Myrie Brook Road across from the airport, runway hangars, the airport, and firehouse. The property adjoins 3 other parcels which are zoned RO. The Plan of Conservation and Development specifically indicates in Planning Section 3, the residential office zoning district enacted in 1996 is designed for limited residential and office development along the southern border of Myrie Brook Road as a transitional zone between industrial and residential development. In May 1998, 4 residential property owners on Myrie Brook Road, all located on the southern border of Myrie Brook Road, petitioned the Zoning Commission to have their properties changed from RA40 to RO. That petition was approved by this commission with a finding by this commission that the change of zone of the 4 properties did not conflict with the plan of development and therefore should be approved. Back in 1998, every effort was made for a comprehensive zoning solution with the properties on the southern border of Myrie Brook Road. However, that was not possible since an agreement could not be reached by all the property owners on the southern border of Myrie Brook Road. This application is a continuation of the concept attempted back in 1998 to reach a comprehensive solution for Myrie Brook Road. The lot has an irregular shape, wide along Myrie Brook Road, and then tapering to the rear. There's a map attached. Bordering land across Myrie Brook Road is zoned IL40 and is used for the Myrie Brook Volunteer Fire Company. Lands to the west and south of the lot are zoned RA40, while the zoning of lands to the east is split. The narrow rear portion of the property adjoins land zoned RA40, and the portion toward the front is zoned RO to include the adjoining 3 other lots zoned RO. The narrow portion to the rear tapers down to 51.78 feet, too narrow for development because the side yard setback in the RO zoning district is 25 feet, where the side yard abuts a single-family zoning district, for example, RA40. The rear yard setback in RO is 50 feet, where it abuts a single-family zoning district. Thus, if the rezoning is granted, only the front portion of the lot will be capable of supporting development, though the narrow lands could be used in calculating minimum lot sizes. We do not know the intended use of the lot under the RO zoning district. There are 11 permitted uses and 8 special exception uses. The minimum lot size is 20,000 square feet, with a total lot area of 95,320.62 square feet. The lot could conceivably be subdivided into 4 lots, assuming minimum lot width, minimum square requirements, and other issues could be resolved. The Plan of Conservation developed the Land Development Plan map recommends the lot be devoted to single-family use. Mr. Alfred?
I would like to bring your attention one small error in the second to last paragraph. Last line. Strike the reference to minimum square requirements. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have a letter here from the Planning Commission. To Robert Melillo, Chairman, Danbury Zoning Commission, from Kenneth Keller, Vice Chairman, Danbury Planning Commission, regarding 8-3A referral petition of Crawford Holdings LLC, 62 Myron Brook Road, E19018, for change of zone from R40 to RO. At the regular meeting held on March 16, 2011, the City of Danbury Planning Commission voted to give the above reference petition a negative recommendation for the following reasons. This could create an intrusion into the residential neighborhood. There is no assurance that the rear portion of the lot will not be developed in a manner that is incompatible with the abutting residential properties. Finally, this does not comply with the Plan of Conservation and Development. The motion was made by Mr. Urice, seconded by Mr. Manuel, and passed unanimously.
Before I ask for anybody to speak in favor of this, just want to remind everybody that since this has a negative recommendation from the Planning Commission, when we do vote on this eventually, it will require a supermajority. Also, I'm sure Mr. Jaber will mention it, but we do have one letter in favor of this from one of the businesses located at the airport. I also have an email correspondence to Mr. Elpern in opposition, but my understanding is that individual is here this evening. And I also want the record to reflect that the email to Mr. Elpern I was CC'd on. So I did get that email sent to myself as my personal account as well. And just if anyone's interested, there is an active and open building permit for the renovations to the existing house located on this property. Is anybody here wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Mr. Jaber? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the Zoning Commission. My name is Paul Jaber. I'm an attorney at law at 148 Deer Hill Avenue, Danbury, and I represent the applicant, Crawford Holdings, LLC, and the owner, who is also Crawford Holdings, LLC. The two principals of Crawford Holdings are Noel Roy Sr. and Noel Roy Jr. Noel Roy Jr. is with us this evening. Do you have any questions of him? Both are lifelong residents of Danbury, and both are prominent business owners, several businesses in the city of Danbury. The proposal is to change the zone of property known as 62 Myrie Brook Road from RA40 to RO. The property is known as 62 Myrie Brook Road, but it's also known as 74 Myrie Brook Road. We checked it out with Vision Appraisal a number of years ago when this property was active with the rest of the properties on Myrie Brook Road. It was identified as 74. When you look at Vision Appraisal, the same assessor lot number is given to both lots. So there is no, to my knowledge, there is no 74 other than 62. So if you see reference to 74, it's this piece of property, 62 or 74. That's important because there are reports that you'll see that identify 74, but it's now known as 62 Myrie Brook Road. I've given you a copy of the map in the handout I gave to everyone. I'll go through the handout towards the end in my summation, each of those documents. But you can reference the map if you can't see this one. It's admittedly it's small, but it's the assessor's map that I parceled together. I'd like to show you the location of this property. I'm sure you have a general idea where it is. What it is, as indicated in the report, 2.19 acres of land with currently a single-family residential home located on it. The single-family home is currently under renovation because it was gutted by fire over a period of time. And it was foreclosed out, purchased by the Roys a short time ago, a very short time ago, and now they're rehabbing the home into a single-family home. So let me just go through the location because this whole presentation is really about background, going back 20 years and to understand what happened. A couple members have been on the commission that long, and hopefully we'll have some recollection of what went on back then. Let's see how we do this. I'm going to start at the intersection of Sugar Hollow Road and Myrie Brook Road, where the intersection of Sugar Hollow, where the Route 7 intersection is the overpass, and go northerly from Sugar Hollow Road all the way to the end of Myrie Brook and Bacchus Avenue, where it intersects with the Federal Express. So if we start there on the south side, south or west side, you start with several industrial pieces of property which are used for Foley pump, Cooper mulch, and there's another yard there that appears to be a storage yard. I don't know if it's for the state or for the city to store some of the construction equipment. There's also a parcel that the city has there, like a tree farm there. But those pieces are zoned industrial. That's down here in this area. You then move to a home that's owned by Carl Sayers. Carl Sayers owns the property also on the east side, where there's a fill area where he screens topsoils and other material. That's all zoned industrial. The whole east side of Myrie Brook Road, from the intersection to Federal Express, is all zoned industrial, just to show you that. So on the west side, we have that portion zoned industrial. We then have a residential home. We have Shady Acres Mobile Home Park. It's a pretty good sized mobile home park. We then have another residential home with, I believe, a vacant lot next to it. That's right here. Then we have two large parcels of land. One was right at that sharp turn. One was the home for a number of years of Contact Systems. Contact moved out a couple of years ago, sold the property. There are several businesses in that building. I noticed that the other day there was a sign there for DeJurban. That's a assembly company of lamps, I believe. They moved over from Newtown and then Commerce Park over here. But they also have a couple other businesses there. Next to it is Hawk Trucking. That's a truck terminal. Then next to that are three homes. Those 3 homes are zoned RO. And then next to those 3 homes is the parcel in question, which I've highlighted in yellow, and that's on the corner of Harwood Drive and Maury Brook Road. The 4th parcel that's zoned RO is way down in this area. Here are the three parcels next to the parcel in question. And then we go way down here to the right past the copper mulch. I believe it's adjoining copper mulch, is the 4th parcel that was zoned back in 1998 as RO. So you have this isolated piece here. You go all the way down past the industrial to the 3 parcels and that are zoned RO, which adjoin the parcel in question. Now, it's also important to note, so we have the industrial on the east or north side of Maury Brook. We have some industrial on the south side, some RO zone on the south side, and some RA40 on the south side. Just north, because it's always an issue that, well, this may lead to an expansion of the RO zone. Well, just to set that issue aside, just continuing north, continuing down Maury Brook Road, where the city clear-cut a field for what I assume was the landing strip, so there would be a clear landing for planes. There's 2 parcels of land that total approximately 7 acres. Those 2 parcels are open space for the subdivisions to the west of Maury Brook Road. If you go up Harwood Road, there's a substantial number of homes up in that area, and the open space for those subdivisions, or at least some of the open space for those subdivisions, are these 2 parcels on Maury Brook Road. So those could never be expanded or used for anything but open space and restricted to that use. So this would be the furthest it would go. Now, there will be reference to 13 lots throughout my presentation. And since 1995, that has always been the number of lots in question with respect to the RO district. And those 13 lots consist of the parcels adjoining copper mulch, which I indicated to you was one of the pieces that was changed, all the way down and ending with this piece of land. There are 13 pieces of property there. 3 of those properties are the current industrial properties formerly used by Contact Systems and Hawk Trucking. The other 10, one of which was Shady Acres, and the other 9 were residential properties. Okay? So when you hear the reference of 13 parcels, it's the properties from Copper Mulch, but not including Copper Mulch, all the way through to Harwood Drive, which includes this piece. And again, 3 of those pieces were industrial and still are industrial, being Contact Systems and Hawk Trucking. They comprise 3 parcels, even though there's two buildings that comprise 3 parcels. And another one being Shady Acres. That's the only one that's not single family, that's mobile home park. Active mobile home park to my knowledge. As I previously indicated to you, the Roys recently purchased the property. It was gutted by fire. They've taken out a building permit, and they're substantially rehabbing the whole facility and will turn it into a single-family home and probably, most likely, rent it out as a single-family home. Rent it out as opposed to using it themselves or selling it. Now, The RO zone was created by this commission in 1996. The sole purpose of the zone was for the properties on the south side of Myrie Brook Road. That's 13 properties I'm talking about. On the south side of Myrie Brook Road. It was created as a transitional zone between the industrial and the RA40. All the properties west of the 13 properties I'm talking about are zoned RA, either RA20 or RA40. But they're all single family residential. And for the most part, I tried to look at the map, just this map. For the most part, they're either a half acre or 3/4 acre in size. I'm sure some of them are bigger than that, but generally they're in that nature. The plan of development indicates, in quotes, the residential office zoning district, as the RO zoning district, enacted in 1996, is designed for limited residential and office development along the southern border of Myrie Brook Road as a transitional zone between industrial and residential development. The reason for its creation was to give some zoning relief to the property owners along the southern border of Myrie Brook Road. They were between the industrial uses, the airport, and the single-family residential to the rear, which I just indicated in the several subdivisions. The RO zone allows, in addition to the uses currently permitted in the RA40 zone, and this I think is very important. So, in addition to the RA40 uses, it allows these uses. These are the additional uses that can be used for this piece of property at 62 Myrie Brook Road. Business and medical offices, banks, a library, an art gallery, a daycare center, being an adult or child, a studio for instruction and music, and a two-family house. So those were the additional uses that were given to the many residents on Myrie Brook Road that wanted some zoning relief because they were congested with this industrial development. They were surrounded by this industrial development. So they pushed for other uses, and the planning department created this RO zone and created these other uses. So these are the only other uses for property that's not currently used as industrial, which this isn't. It was currently used as industrial, it was grandfathered. But for property such as this, which is residential, these are the only other additional uses. Okay? Now, a little historical background. This was a very contentious zone change over many, many years. And it started back in the early 1990s and didn't end until the end of the 1990s. And while I'm going to do my best and to be as accurate as I can, but sometimes our memory doesn't serve as good as it should over the last 20 years in order to get all the information. But having said that, I'm sure I'll be corrected on a few things, but I'll do the best I can given pulling out files and things like that. So in the early 1990s, many of the residents to the rear, the residential subdivisions I'm talking about, objected to the Hawk Trucking. Hawk Trucking is a truck terminal. They used the facility probably 24 hours a day. They were coming in at night. There was a lot of noise, a lot of odors, a lot of fumes, a lot of disturbance to the residents in that area. So they persuaded the planning department to change the zone to to try to change the zone of those 3 parcels that are industrial. Contact Systems and Kovacs. Okay, there's 3 parcels, two facilities. On the other end of it, the residents along Myrie Brook Road were petitioning the planning department to change their properties to industrial because they felt that they were so connected with the airport across the street, all the industrial uses on Myrie Brook Road, that they couldn't fairly use their property or transfer their property if being zoned RA40 for single-family residential. So there was this conflict going on between the residents there. So the city attempted in 1995. Now the RO zone didn't come into effect in 1996. So the city filed a petition in 1995 to change the 3 industrial parcels, Contact Systems and Hawk Trucking, from industrial, active industrial properties, to single-family residential. Zoning Commission changed it. We took an appeal, and the change was overturned. So it remained industrial. Over the next year and a half, the planning department developed the RO zone. So that was in 95, middle of 96. The RO zone was developed as a compromise between the residential owners on Myrie Brook Road who wanted some type of zoning relief other than the single-family residential, and the residents in the rear. So in 1996, the RO zone came into existence. The city and Mr. Elton continued to press for a comprehensive solution by attempting to rezone the entire 13 parcels on Myrie Brook Road to RO. Okay, so some of them were industrial, and some of them were RA40. So he attempted to change all 13 to RO. This never happened because the 3 industrial properties would not agree to it. They fought the zone changes. They would not agree to their property being changed from industrial to residential. The city filed an application for change to all 13 properties, and this failed because of the industrial opposition. An application in August of 1996 was filed by the 10 residential property owners to change their properties from RA40 to RO. This was denied by your commission, and the reason for the denial was because it didn't include the industrial parcel. So there was this conflict going on that nothing could happen unless all 13 were changed. Finally, in 1998, 4 residential properties on Myrie Brook Road, 40, and 40 down here, Harold and Joan Truesdale, 56, 58, and 60, the 3 parcels adjoining this parcel. Helen Robertine, Gerald and Pauline Nadeau, and Lila Anderson were frustrated by the process. They filed an application that their properties, that those 4 be changed to the RO, and that was approved. In all these applications, by anything other than 13 properties, the Planning Commission, in its wisdom, moved for negative recommendation because, as you heard tonight, it's not comprehensive. It didn't include all 13 properties. In other words, they were trying to force, in my judgment, blackmail, force, whatever word you want to use, contact systems and hawk trucking to cave from pressure from these other people to concede to their properties and change, and they never will. So the Planning Commission's position is very consistent. Deny, 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 unless it's 13 properties. Well, actually, you saw fit, and then there's an article in the paper where you can show your frustration and say we've had enough, and change the floor,
Said that guy here. Did I really say this?
Well, I didn't print it. So you had enough. You had enough, and you said, we'll start here, we'll change it, and get the ball rolling. In 2000, the Planning Commission and the Planning Department redrafted the plan of development. The current plan of development was redrafted in 2000, maybe 2000. I'm not sure. But and it stated exactly what I stated in my application, that the south side of Myrie Brook Road should be ROs. I quoted it out of it, and I gave you a copy of the plan of development. Since 1998, to my knowledge, nothing further has transpired. Zoning has not. Okay. The applicant's property, Crawford Holden's property, was always one of the 13 properties to be included in the RO zone. It was always one of the 13 properties. Again, I told you before, back then it was number 74 Myrie Brook Road, but the one before. We confirmed that with visual appraisal. Now, let me summarize, and then I'll go through my handout. 1995, the city petitions to change the 3 industrial properties to single-family residential. You approved it, overturned by the courts. 1996, the city establishes the RO zone with the intent for all 13 properties on Myrie Brook Road to be included. In June of 1996, the city files a petition to the zoning commission. I have that application right here. You can look at it. I want you to look at it. Several pages down. Okay? Right what I did. The city files an application to change this property and the other 12 properties to RO. Okay, so we have the city in 1996, in June of 1996, filing an application to change this property to the RO zone, along with the other 12 properties. It was denied because of the heavy opposition from the 3 industrial applicants. Okay? But you do have that application right there. Virtually the same time, I, on behalf of the 10 other property owners, excluding the 3 parcels that were industrial, filed an application to change those 10 properties to RO. One of those 10 was the piece of question. That Planning Commission recommends denial because it wasn't comprehensive. You denied it for the same reason, not comprehensive. Now, what I'd like you to look at is the staff report, document dated August 16, 1996, which I did. I'm just going to read from something. Because it's as good today as it was 15 years ago. It's on the right-hand column. second paragraph. The city's efforts to establish an RO zone for all 13 properties along Myrie Brook Road came about because of long-term complaints by many neighbors located not only along Myrie Brook Road, but also within the neighborhood south of Myrie Brook Road on the slope of Spruce Mountain. That's what I was talking about. Both share common problems emanating from local industrial uses. While this petition seeks to provide relief for the residential properties along Myrie Brook Road, it does nothing to relieve the problem faced by other residential neighbors. If passed as submitted, both hog trucking and contact systems could be converted in the future to any one of a wide range of industrial uses, which could continue and very well worsen the problems currently plaguing the neighborhood. We are supportive of the petition as far as it goes, for the same reasons we support the city's petition, both of which included 62 to be rezoned. The problem is that the petition simply doesn't go far enough. Much of the original impetus for the initial zone change approved by the commission last year came from the deep-seated concerns of neighboring residents over traffic, noise, diesel fumes created by the industrial uses. So again, it goes on to say that because this petition didn't include contact systems, because you couldn't get contact systems in Hawk to agree to this change, to deny it until you force them into this proposition. Okay? Then we have one of many newspaper articles which appears in 1997, which I submitted to you. And I'm not going to read through it, but it describes the conflict between members of the commission, because many of you back then wanted to approve it and some didn't, just in the past. The conflict between members of the commission and the frustration of the several residences along Myrie Brook Road and their inability to get the RO zone passed for their property. In April of 1998, the 4 residences which I mentioned previously applied for a zone change, and that was finally approved. And I'll just read from the staff report at that time, April 28, 1998. This is the staff report to you and the Planning Commission, and with respect to that application, which was approved by you, recommended denial by planning, again, but approved by you. And it just states the last paragraph, the front page that I gave you. Under normal circumstances, we would continue to press for a comprehensive solution. In other words, don't do it unless all 13 get it. However, the failure of the Zoning Commission to resolve this issue in a comprehensive way, your failure to resolve it in a comprehensive way, or for that matter, in any way, leads us to suggest that the application before you, though far from the overall solution the Commission had hoped to reach, is perhaps the best you can do. So, that was your staff report planning to you. And you finally approved the change of those four homes. And that's the zoning from that time in 1998 for now, unless something happened that I'm not aware of, which is possible. Now, lastly, I mentioned 3 other things. Lastly, attached to the, no, just one more. I attached to this set of documents I gave you a copy of the plan of development, just a page. And I highlighted on that page one paragraph, the only paragraph I could find in the whole book about this section, and it says, the residential office zoning district enacted in 1996 is designated to permit limited residential and office development along the southern border of Myrie Brook Road as a transitional zone between industrial and residential development. Clearly intended for the 13 parcels of land which were part of this whole episode from 1990, 1995 to 2000. Okay. Lastly, let me say this. We met with several representatives of the neighborhood because they have an active organization. They actively participated 15 years ago in opposition to much of this. So we suggested to them, and I prepared and submitted to you what we would be willing to do, what the laws would be willing to do. And what they would be willing to do is two things. One, limit the number of lots that could be built on this property to 2 lots. So what that would mean is the existing home and the 1 other lot. So you have 2 acres of land, 2.2 acres of land. So that would mean you have a density of 1 acre per lot. All right? And that's probably a higher density than 90% or lower density than 90% of the properties in the area, including the residential. So he's willing to commit to that. He signed this document and recorded it. And the second thing he's willing to commit to is that there would be no buildings to be constructed in the area shown on the map I attached, where I've indicated no build area. Because that's the piece that goes up the road. You can't build on it anyway, so it's not like it should be an issue, but it's good to know that you can't build anything there, no buildings there, no sheds or garages or anything. So that would be preserved, as open space. So he would create 1 additional lot. He would use it. If he didn't use it as an office or something like that, it would be used either single family, or if the septic permitted, since there's no sewage in that area, and there won't be on this property, it's possible to. Or it could be possibly used as a office, a medical office, or the 3 other things, 4 other things. But in any event, it would be limited to one additional building. And he would commit to that, and I think the Roy family has a substantial reputation in the area, and not back down from their word, and they have substantial businesses in town, and the last thing they would do for the value of this is not give the word back off. Now, it's less density than 90% of the lots that are up there. It's 1 acre per building. The third thing, and this to me, it's just a simple thing, but it's the most telling. I drive down the street every year, and there's no better example of proper zoning than the 4 parcels that were changed to RO zone. You drive down the street, and you'll see those 4 homes are the best maintained homes on the street. And just, why? I don't know. But I think zoning means something. And it encourages people, if it's properly zoned, perhaps to maintain their property, keep it in good condition. And those 4 properties are. Now the 5th, the big one. And now the 5th, being rehabbed, 62 Myrie Brook Road, being rehabbed in a substantial, and knowing the owners, it will be done as nice as any other home. And the one to be constructed, there's no changes will also be done in character with the area and well landscaped and very well beneficial. That's all I have. Do you have any questions?
Jaber, I actually have one quick question. In my mind, more of a procedural question before I open it up to everybody else, and that is, I just want to satisfy a concern I have. You mentioned that this property is also known as 74 Myrie Brook Road. We only referenced it in the noticing as 62 Myrie Brook Road.
That's
As
all.
a petitioner, would you be concerned about that?
No, because that's what it's known as now. If you look at the old petitions, it was known then as 74, but somehow it got changed. Vision Appraisal, who does the appraisal work, confirmed that they had changed it from 74 to 62. So, yes.
Any commissioners have any questions for Attorney Jaber? Commissioner Haddock?
Attorney Jaber, you said this document, this restricted covenant, you said you mentioned it to a couple of the neighbors. I'm sure we'll hear what they said. What did you take from that, mentioning it to the neighbors?
Well, I think their concerns were what was going to be done there. If the zone was changed, what would be constructed there? And we knew before the meeting that even though it's 2 acres, mathematically, if you divide one number into another, you might be able to build 4, but you can't do that. You can probably get 2, you might get 3, because it's septic, you need reserve areas, and it's probably not the greatest soil.
Yeah, but did this do anything to help any of the opposition?
I don't know.
You don't know. So you didn't get a feel.
So they must speak tonight on that.
And of course, we can't contract zones.
No, that's why I prepared that. We can't contract zone. You take a risk that the Roys will never appear before one of your commissions again and leave town, or sign that and go about their businesses every night.
Additional questions? Thank you, Mr. Jaber. Anybody else here wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Anybody else here wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Anybody else here wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Again, let the record reflect that we do have that one of the letters, just speaking that they were in favor of the petition from one of the other businesses. At this time, is anybody here wishing to speak in opposition? I will start off with Councilman Rotella.
Good evening, Paul Rotella, 13 Linden Place, Danbury. Driving by Mill Plain, Myrie Brook, the airport, one gets the sense that you're almost up in those race fans in Lime Rock, where there's a beautiful park-like track on one side of the road and a lot of old Victorians on another side of the road. You know, but unlike at Lime Rock, where these properties are used maybe once or twice a year for races, and the rest of the time it's pretty quiet up there. So if you lived in one of those houses, a single-family house, you'd be in a pretty nice neighborhood. Myrie Brook's, there's just a lot more stuff going on in Myrie Brook. This, turning back the clock a little bit, I'm not going to get into the kind of detail that Attorney Jaber did, but we really have to go back to when Hawk Trucking came in and the effect that that had on Myrie Brook. It was a major impact. And everything forward from that date, including what we're discussing tonight, including what we did, Commissioner Haddad and I did in 1998 when we first got the RO on those 4 parcels, everything stems from that initial decision by the city to allow that trucking company to go in. The RO zone was not created to help with density issues on Myrie Brook. It wasn't created to help with an industrial problem on Myrie Brook. It was literally created. It was an attempt, as Attorney Jaber alluded to provide relief to those neighbors who the city felt were harmed by the inclusion of Hawk Trucking on what had previously been a residential street. So regardless of how long it took to finally get some of those lots changed to RO, the goal always was providing non-financial but somewhat substantial relief to the people who were damaged, allegedly, in the 1970s when I went. It's not 1980 or 90, it's 2011. And if you go back and you look at the sales charts, if you bought property in 1966, for instance, on my report, probably until 86, you made money, regardless of how close or proximity you were to Mall Truck. You bought property in Myrie Brook in 86, held it for 20 years, and sold in 2006, you made money. Potentially the expense of long-term property owners in the Tribal Living Association. And that's really what the issue is tonight. We are no longer talking about creating or extending an RO zone to help someone who was harmed 40 years ago and has never gotten relief. We're now talking about extending the RO zone to help somebody who doesn't need help because of a decision that was made 40 years ago, maybe to help for business reasons and myriad other reasons, but not because of a mistake that the city made. And again, that mistake is what led to the RO zone. But we're not here tonight to discuss rectifying that mistake because that's no longer relevant. It's a moot point. The decision that you need to make tonight is whether the RO zone is appropriate for Myrie Brook, and I think you can make a good case that it is. I think that Myrie Brook at this point has gotten beyond what it was in the 1960s and 70s. And you probably can make a case that an RO zone, increasing the density of those particular lots, makes a little bit more sense than it might have 10 or certainly 25 years ago. That's a different decision. But you also have to balance that with what happens to Harvard, because most of this lot is actually on Harvard. What's going to happen with the increased traffic, and what's going to happen to the members who actually be here this evening, the Tribal Living Association, Blue and Cairo, on Spruce Mountain, and places like that. And then I think that's where the balance comes in. I think you have to ask yourself, are we at a point where we need more industrial property on Myrie Brook? To me, the answer to that would be no. If the petitioner at his word is only going to build one more house, that's one thing. And if he can't build a house there because of density regulations in that lot, I think he's got 40,000 square feet in that lot. And if the, I don't know if there's setbacks or wetland issues and things like that are preventing him from simply building a house, there probably are other remedies like the ZBA. And that would probably be the first place that I would stop. You go to the ZBA and say, look, it's a 40,000 square foot zone. I have 40,000 square feet. Because of some regulations that were passed 10 or 20 years ago, I can no longer use my 40,000 square foot as it was designed in a 40,000 square foot zone. Can you give me a little relief just in this one particular area? I don't want to make predictions, but it would not surprise me if the ZBA was in tune with that. And that would solve tonight's problem. But for my money, I don't think we no longer need to discuss extending the RO zone to provide relief for a problem that was essentially caused 45 years ago, because the property owner who was harmed by that decision no longer owns the property. And that's where I stand on this issue. In 1998, I really wrestled with this. The problem with creating relief by making buffer zones is that you keep moving the problem laterally. I mean, at one point, it was Hawk and the guy next door. Then it was Hawk and 4 houses. Then at what point do you stop the zone? I mean, we have this invisible line at Harwood. That's what we said. We're not going to go any farther than that. We didn't, as it turned out, have to go that far. But we don't have to do that anymore. We do not have a petitioner who is here tonight who is saying, look, guys, you promised me 30 years ago you'd fix this, and I'm still waiting. We have an issue on Main Street, and we've been negotiating with property owners on Main Street literally for 40 years to fix a problem that was created when the city of Danbury reversed the flow of East Ditch. And that's something that the city did. And we need to rectify that, and we will eventually, but it's $5 million. We don't know. But that's a different story than what we're looking at tonight. The person who was harmed by this original change from the city is no longer involved in this process. We have a new owner. The new owner bought the property with full knowledge of what the zones were and the issues there. And that was essentially petitioning you to increase the value of that property. And you're going to hear from people after we're going to claim, and I think rightly so, that the increase in value of that property is going to come at the expense of yours. So I would look at the answer to this. Thanks.
Any questions from councilman? Commissioner Farrer.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get some clarity on this. You made reference to 40 and 45 and 30 years prior to today, and I keep sifting through documentation I have in front of me, and there's no reference to, except for, 15 and 16 years ago. Can you help me understand what you're talking about from 30 and 40 and 45 years ago?
I was not involved in politics in the 1970s, but it's my understanding, perhaps Attorney Jaber has more information about that if you want to call it the genesis issue, the thing that started this whole thing was a company that began a trucking operation in the 1970s because they got a zoning change from the city. It was a spot zone. It just applied to them in a couple of adjacent properties. And because of that, which had been heretofore a residential piece of property, the neighbors who still own houses there now found themselves in a situation of not being able to market a house for a residential use when it was adjacent to a noisy 24-hour operation. And they felt that there would be less, the ability to market that property would be reduced. So this was, again, back in the 70s, would be reduced by the inclusion of this industrial site. And they petitioned the city for some sort of relief. Some people wanted money. They wanted to be paid off. The city took a different view of that, but tried to come up with another way of providing some relief in lieu of a cash payment. And it took a long time to come up with that. And the RO zone was really what they wanted to do. It would increase the use and marketability of what had been essentially a single-family zone, so that if you couldn't sell a house to a family that wanted to live there with kids next to a trucking operation, maybe you could sell it to a group of doctors that wanted to put an office there. Again, I can't, to answer your question specifically, I don't know the year when the trucking company went in, but that was when the issue started. It's not really a documentation, but it all refers back to that point.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Johnny?
Well, you run council, what ward do you represent? Are you just,
This ward, the 6th ward.
So are you speaking on behalf of the representing the 6th ward, or just on behalf of a, person, who gave it?
Commissioner Johnny, part of it comes to the fact that I was on the zoning commission in the 90s, and I'm one of the few guys who remember what we wrestled with back then. So I think that's somewhat relevant. A lot of it has to do with the fact these were my decisions.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional? Commissioner Kovacs.
Not sure if you know the answer to this question or not, but since those parcels that were claimed the hardship and were rezoned to RO, the 4, have they turned over since they've been rezoned? You couldn't tell you. They have not. This one say no? You did, okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. O'Connell?
Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, can we just move to, my line of sight, I see a couple hands, but thank you. Yes, sir.
Good evening, and certainly thank you for the opportunity to allow us to speak today. My name is Craig Foreman. I'm the owner of 1 through 7 Harvard Drive, which is the adjacent property, the White House right across the street. I guess a couple different comments. One, I was shocked to know that the attorney said he reached out to some members of the community. I was not reached out to. I believe I'm the one that has probably the greatest impact since I'm directly across the street from the property. My property runs from the very bottom of Myra Brook, and I think it's the corner piece there all the way up to Harvard.
You should get that map again for you to show us.
I don't know. I don't know.
Show us off.
It's
The property directly
It's the
across.
large parcel right across the street that's highlighted.
Directly adjacent to Myra Brook, so the property is in the direction.
Yep.
So certainly that's the property that I own. You know, I've been in the house for 5 years now. I've been in Danbury for like 5 years. I don't know the history, but, you know, 20, 30, 40 years ago, frankly, I'm not sure I care. I care about what's important today, what's important for the community around us, and the impact this, you know, change could have on our community. So I have here a petition, 25 different people, or sorry, excuse me, 20 different people in the surrounding area that live on Harwood, Old Musket, and Cassie. It clearly articulates, we the undersigned oppose rezoning of 62 Meyer Road for the following reasons. It has significant impact and adverse effect on the general welfare of the neighborhood, creating potential more traffic. The second one is not compatible with the characteristics and surrounding the neighborhood areas. And the last, I think the councilman spoke about, is certainly the property value. We heard the attorney say at the beginning that the property in question they're building a house on. And then he stayed to say that, well, they might build a supply, a medical supply. Then I heard, oh, well, maybe we can do it for 3 or 4 different businesses. That's very concerning to me with the residential. So I don't know how many hands there are. Here's our
Yes.
27 people that oppose that.
And we'll label that Exhibit B. We'll do Mr. Jaber's paperwork as Exhibit A.
So thank you certainly for your time. Questions?
Questions?
Okay.
Commissioner Farrer?
Oh, yes, sir.
I'm looking at this, Mr. Mormon?
Mr. Borman, B-O-H-R-N-A.
Oh, B, I'm sorry.
Correct.
Mr. Borman, B. Now, I'm looking at this map. You're now looking at a couple of the maps. You're directly across from the area that cannot be developed. Is your concern the lower piece on Myra Brook that wants to be developed in?